Joining me now is my Sky News colleague Graham Richardson. Richo, what do you make of the news poll? The primary vote down 1 point, 32. Labor still ahead though on a two-party basis. What would be the reaction within the government at the moment?
Changes of this small, I don't think affect anyone. So nobody will take a lot of notice of this. It'll come and it'll wrap up the fish and chips, but it won't do much else.
Well, I guess the thing is we've seen governments behind at this stage of the electoral cycle. It's the point that I've made to a few people throughout the morning that often we've reported on governments going back many, many years. The Howard government was often behind at this time, only to come back at election day and win comfortably.
Yeah, I think what Labor's got is this likeability factor with Albo. Everybody likes Albo, and it's hard not to. Anyone who's met him knows that. So, you know, he'll keep Labor's numbers looking fairly good. So I'm glad we've got him. We're going to have to hang on to him for a long time, I think.
The Tasmanian election ends up with a hung parliament. Not a surprise. Most people thought that would be the case. And the Liberals, the last Liberal government in Australia, continues.
Yeah, they're hanging on with their fingernails, but they're hanging on. Good luck to them. But, you know, I think, you've got to remember that Tasmania's got less people than Newcastle. So I'm not sure it's a great indicator of national interest.
I guess Rebecca White had come out and said she was going to look at trying to form a minority government with and cobble together the Greens and whoever else she could bring together. This was Saturday night. By Sunday, the reality appears to have dawned on those within Labor saying you can't do that. It would be an absolute coalition of chaos, as the Liberal Party argued. And you'd have to think that the Prime Minister would welcome that as well. He doesn't want to see some chaos with the Greens in Tasmania or wherever else when it comes to Labor. No,
I'm sure he doesn't. And of course, this spectacle of Labor joining with the Greens is not a good look anyway. So for Labor, it's best to avoid looking like you're cozying up to the Greens too much.
So probably better for their prospects in Tasmania in the medium to longer term to say, well, we're going to put that fantasy to one side and just keep battling the government, because when you're in minority, there'll be some vulnerabilities for this government that they're going to have to try and navigate over the next 4 years.
Yeah, well, there's always difficulties for governments in Tasmania because they're a client state in that sense. They can't look after themselves. They need federal money to survive. And so they're always, I think, looking for an extra buck here or there. And it's never easy for them. So it doesn't matter who governs in Tasmania. When the crunch comes, we'll still be paying for them, you and I, Kieran. But you've got plenty you can afford.
Oh, mate, wouldn't say that. The Federal Treasurer, though, he wants others to get plenty, doesn't he? He's talking about this submission to the Fair Work Commission. He doesn't want workers to go backwards. Business I've spoken to already this morning, the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, saying they've got to be careful here because if they're still nudging up wage rises up around inflation, this could be damaging for job prospects.
Yeah, look, it's a game of balance, and no one's ever quite sure where the right spot in the balance is. So I think it's a case of suck it and see, and that's what Chalmers is doing. But he's doing a pretty good job of it. His instincts are usually pretty good, and so we seem to come out on the right side of the ledger.
When you look at you spoke about the leadership of the government, the Prime Minister, obviously his his authenticity, I guess, is the way you could put it. The fact that people generally think he's a reasonable person, that's an upside for the government. But the Treasurer is always crucial to the prospects of a government. How do you see, if we go, crystal ball territory, the Labor leadership outlook beyond Albanese in years to come?
Well, I mean, Chalmers and Miles would battle it out. Chalmers would be favourite to win, although you should always remember that Miles brings with him that phalanx of Labor MPs from Victoria, which is, of course, Labor's strongest state. So you can never write him off. But Chalmers would be favourite. I think that's for sure.
And we're not talking tomorrow. We're talking years ahead. So
Oh yeah,
no
Albo's
one
going to be
accuses
there.
us of getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, Albo's going to be there for a long, long time.
Richo, talk to you soon. Appreciate it.
Good on you, mate.